everyone, and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing overview and quick setup demonstration of this TP-Link AC1900 wireless dual band gigabit router model Archer C9. Now this router is pretty packed with features. For that purpose, I'm going to share some of the information on the box here. First off, we have a 2-year warranty as well as 24/7 support provided by TP-Link for this router, so you can be sure that you can get a replacement if there's any failure that happens, or you can get support if you need help, particularly with setup, but hopefully this video will help you out with that as well. Now this is an 802.11 AC router. That's the newest wireless standard that's been approved by the Wi-Fi Alliance as of January of this year, and it's strictly speaking only for the 5 gigahertz band. This router does have a 2.4 gigahertz band as well, and it's also going to be backwards compatible with 802.11 A, B, G, and N compatible devices. So don't worry if you're using an older device, but in order to get the wireless AC speeds, which is 1900 total, but actually up to 1300 specifically for the wireless AC band on the 5 gigahertz, you're going to need an 802.11 AC compatible device that you're connecting to as well, or that you're using to connect to this router. You get ultimate range and Wi-Fi coverage. That's one of the benefits of 802.11 AC, is the extension of the coverage as well as beamforming technology. You also have USB 3.0 that's built into this router, so you can connect devices. I got a couple USB ports actually for connecting printers as well as storage that you can use to share with other devices connected to your network. Beamforming technology, gigabit Ethernet compatibility, a guest network built in, parental controls built in, as well as the TP-Link app that you can use for additional control. On the side of the box we have contents. I'm going to be showing you those, so I just want to point out IPv6 compatibility, of course. And then here on the back we can see the router as well as some more specs here. So some we've already mentioned about 1900 megabits per second, since this is the Archer C9 AC1900. Again, that's actually indicating the amount of available bandwidth on both of your bands. So for the 2.4 gigahertz band, you have up to 600 megabits per second of total theoretical bandwidth available. And for the 802.11 AC 5 gigahertz band, you have up to 1300 megabits per second of bandwidth theoretically available, and Steve and I have deduced that the 3 antenna on this router means that it's probably a 3x3 antenna array, giving you 433 megabits per second on each antenna that you're connecting with. Guest network also included. You get a guest network on both the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band. Very helpful for security if you have folks who are coming and visiting and you don't want them necessarily to be able to access everything that you have set up on the router. Beamforming technology will automatically sort of hone in on where you are connecting to the router from. Again, this is something that was standardized with 802.11 AC, and you'll find that if you're moving to a location, whereas before you might not have gotten the best signal strength, if you're connecting from that location for a while, the router will sort of hone in on your location and give you better throughput from there. Parental controls are also built in, so you have the ability to, for instance, block off internet access based on an IP that's connected with the router. You also have a dual-core 1 gigahertz processor built in, as the router can be handling multiple things, such as multiple wireless clients that are connected to it, as well as stuff like a external storage device or a network-attached printer. Handling all those things at once can be a difficult task, so having a high-quality processor integrated means that it's not going to suffer from slowdown as it's handling multiple tasks. Gigabit wired internet, I really like this feature because wired is often a standard that folks want to go with if they don't want to deal with any of the potential disruptions that can occur with wireless from time to time, and having gigabit Ethernet ports means that you can plug in there and you can also expand off of those by using switches and that sort of thing. You have a dedicated Wi-Fi on-off switch, another feature I really like, because at sometimes for security purposes you might just want to switch off your Wi-Fi altogether. Being able to switch that off physically on the device rather than having to log into the software is very helpful. USB 3.0 means that if you're connecting an external drive that you want to use for network attached storage, you can get better connection and better speed from that drive. And then you also have a WDS wireless bridge, so if you want to expand your network via wireless bridges, you're going to have better compatibility and integration of those as well. I also want to point out down here at the bottom we have a chart. This is the Archer C9 we're looking at today. It's also available as the Archer C8, Archer C7, and Archer C5. So you have some lesser models that are available that might not have quite as many antenna, for example, or maybe not the same amount of USB connectivity, but check those out if this one is a bit above your price range. At last, we shall take a look inside the box and we'll see what you guys get as far as accessories and whatnot. Of course, you're going to need to power this device, so it comes with an AC adapter already included. Little wall wart there for you. Apart from that, we have the router itself, of course. We'll come back to that in just a moment. We also have some documentation here, so if you want to take advantage of that 2-year warranty, we've got a general purpose license agreement, as well as the ever important quick installation guide. Again, I'm going to be walking you guys through installation here in just a moment, but that's good to have as well. We got a resource CD. You should also be able to go over to the TP-Link website to download any relevant software or drivers that are also available. We have 3 of those included dipole antenna. These are removable. More on that in just a moment. And then they've included a standard RJ45 Ethernet cable as well. And here's the Archer C9 router itself. I'm going to start by peeling off this wonderful plastic that's protecting the nice white finish we have on the outside. So white and silver overall. I don't know how much you're into the aesthetics of your routers, but this one looks pretty cool. First off, I want to start by talking about the antenna that are at the top here. You'll notice there are 3 of them. That's in order to enable the MIMO, or multi-input, multi-output functionality that was originally introduced actually a couple standards ago. But these are actually dipole antenna. They have a standard SMA connector on the bottom. The reason the removable antenna are actually nice and a good feature for this router is that it means if you do want to extend its functionality by purchasing perhaps high gain antennas, which are available for use in this situation, you can replace the antenna, and that would give you a bit of extra connectivity and a bit of extra distance on the router itself. Up here on top we have a set of indicator lights so you can know what your router is up to at a glance. So we've got a couple USB indicators over here for the USB 2.0 and USB 3.0 ports on the router. We also have a WPA connectivity light right there, so that's for, WPS, that's for Wi-Fi protected setup. One touch setup you can use to connect a device to the router if you're having issues with security. We also have an internet connectivity light. We have an Ethernet connectivity light. We have individual indicators for the for the 5 gigahertz band here on the right, as well as the 2.4 gigahertz band here on the left, and then of course a power button. Moving over to the side of the router here, you'll notice your USB 3.0 port here. So I would recommend this if you're going to connect an external drive, for instance, for some network attached storage. Also next to that you see the Wi-Fi button. So that's easy access to turn your Wi-Fi connection on or off. That's a feature I actually really like because that's something that I do not too infrequently. On the back of the router, you will notice a ton of ventilation here. That's just to keep all the internal components cool. Also, if you're setting the router up, it has a little stand that it sits on that keeps it situated vertically to give the antenna, keep the antenna a bit higher up and a bit in better range and reach, depending, of course, where you have it set up. And that also will make sure that there's some space here behind the router for ventilation of the components if they get warm inside after extended use. On the back here we have some more connectivity, so there's a USB 2.0 port. I would say this is going to be best used for a network attached printer, and this router does have the capability to set that up. Next to that you have a WPS button. That's also a reset button, so you can hold that in to reset the router, or you can press it once for WPS connectivity with a WPS capable device such as a laptop or a phone, and that will easily allow you to connect that and bypass the security. You also have a internet jack right there, so that's RJ45. You would connect that over to your home modem or your home router for internet connection. There's your 4 gigabit Ethernet ports, and then of course over here on this side you have a switch so you can physically turn the router on and off, which I think is a better solution than just unplugging it. And then you also have a plug there for your AC power brick to provide power. So moving on to the setup demonstration, guys. First things first, you should find out what your default gateway is. Now, I did the fancy way of actually running command prompt and typing IP config/all, or you could just read the manual because it tells you specifically it's 192.168.0.1, but in certain situations you might need to change that, so just keep that in mind. But go ahead and open up a browser window, type 192.168.0.1, and that should take you to log in directly to the router. The router obviously right now is connected directly to the computer via one of the gigabit Ethernet plugs, and then the router is also connected to our internet connection via the internet RJ45 plug. Now the default login here is going to be admin for the user and admin for the password. I would recommend changing that. One of the first things you should do. But here is going to give you a basic layout of your internet connection, your router, wireless clients that are connected to it, wired clients that are connected to it. We've only got one computer plugged in directly, and then you can access directly some pretty simple stuff here. So very easily laid out. They've got icons indicating what you might want to do for connecting up and getting a USB disk set up, getting a connected printer set up, for example. Or if you're having any issues, you can click over here on Quick Setup, and this will run you through a step-by-step guide for getting your wired area connection set up, for setting your wireless settings as well, summarizing and testing your connection. I'm not going to walk through that entire thing right now, but it is there as a simple wizard to take you through it. From here on the basic tab, we have our network map. We can click on things directly to access them from here. But over on the left side, we have some more navigation. So internet, for example, we can see the IP address. We can set a static IP address. We can see what IP address we have been issued right now, default gateway, and all that good stuff. Moving on to the wireless, we can see the wireless 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band here. They're both turned on. We can turn them off here. We can rename them. We can also set the password, and this is another thing. This default password will be listed on the bottom of the router on a sticker, but this is another thing that you should go and change ASAP because you never want to use the default password. You can also opt to hide the SSID here for either band if that's something that you want to do. Moving on to USB settings, we have some file sharing connectivity that we can set up here. FTP, this one is also Samba capable as well, so if you're familiar with that, you can set that up. We can also turn the print server on and off, and that will allow other connected computers or laptops or other devices on the network to print if you connect a printer to one of those printer ports. We also have the guest network here. It's turned off by default, but we can turn that on, and again we can have unique identifiers for the guest network on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz that will help keep your guest traffic away from your more intimate traffic that's on your actual network. And that's a great thing to do, especially if you have guests who visit very often. Lastly, we have an advanced tab, and there's a lot more stuff you can do here. As you can see, I'm not going to dive into all this, but you can see our options are expanded a lot. So that's good. It keeps your basic functions a bit more set off here, so you can get up and running for what you need to do. But if you're more of a tinkerer, if you're a router fanatic, or you like to see what it can do, then you can jump in here to your advanced settings, and you can do stuff like messing with your DHCP settings, NAT boost, port forwarding, security, parental control. I will jump into parental control real quick so you can see we can actually filter out specific MAC addresses. So if you know, let's say your child has a tablet, you can take the MAC address of that tablet here, and you can set up specific times that they'll be able to access or not access. You can turn on parental controls. Here's the access where you can set up rules and that sort of thing. So a great router if you have a family and you want to keep track of your family's internet connections, and specifically if you want to turn it off after specific times of day, after bedtime or that sort of thing, you can do that all right here. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Of course, you can find links to this product down in this video's description if you're watching on YouTube. While you're down there, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the 802.11 AC standard, and if you think it's worth upgrading from 802.11n. Once again, this has been the TP-Link Archer C9 AC1900 dual band wireless router. I'm Paul with Newegg TV, and we'll see you next time.